Hey, I'm starting to feel like Russia doesn't have our best interests at heart between I'm hacking the, pipeline and I don't know. It's weird. And Ron Johnson seems to be saying the same stuff they are on vaccines online. It's weird, right?
Yeah, I spent a whole morning this morning working on my next book about the Trump insurgency, and it's just absolutely fascinating how many of Republicans now just mirror every word the Russians say.
Yeah,
it's almost literally a complete takeover of the Republican ideology that Russia was an evil nation we had to oppose, and now to them Russia is their greatest ally. And that ally is against, of course, anything that, enables democracy or liberalism. And so long as Trump says it, these idiots will buy it.
So let's talk about the hack first. Explain to people. So this is not technically the Russian government. It's a group based in Russia that hacked our what is it? The actual pipeline or any? Explain what happened, because I'm a layperson.
Sure.
So go ahead.
Well, if any of your listeners read my book, Plot to Destroy Democracy, which was actually about Russia's strategy to attack the United States and meet many of the goals that the Soviet Union couldn't, because Putin now uses his intelligence agencies as adjuncts to all all Russian foreign policy. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
So now I wrote extensively in there about what we called originally Web War One. This was the early 2000s attacks on Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Georgia by Russia using cyber power. And one of the first things they did, they had a dispute with Estonia because Estonia, which is not an ethnically Russian country, right, removed gravestones from a Soviet cemetery. These cyber vigilantes from Russia immediately rushed in and brought down the Estonian internet system through a denial of service attack. So we call these vigilantes, these cyber vigilantes. However, what happened after that was Russian military intelligence followed up and started acting like they were cyber vigilantes. And now they use this methodology to attack people. There are Russian cyber criminal gangs. They exist out there. They do black market operations. They do ransomware attacks. They steal your credit cards. But they're not allowed to operate inside of Russia.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't operate inside of Russia without the permission of their parent agency, which is Russian intelligence. Mm-hmm. So Vladimir Putin, this is the man that got the mafia under control in St. Petersburg in the 1990s, okay? He gives them their cut. So once they get their cut, they can do what they want. The thing that I pointed out on Joy Reid the other night, which is most important for your listeners, how did these hackers suddenly decide and map out and get the infrastructure of the largest oil pipeline in the United States? Right. Do any of you know what the largest oil pipeline in Russia is? Where all of its control stations are? Where all of its computers are? No, you don't.
Right.
That is an intelligence agency component of this. And I suspect that this is a test bed. And I'm glad, because we need for people to understand now these people are malignant. Had it been a hostile intelligence agency, they could have set those pipelines to explode.
Yeah. Well, and it just argues why we need, to fix our infrastructure, right? To not be vulnerable to this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sorry, Malcolm, just let Malcolm answer. Go ahead. Malcolm, I was talking about infrastructure.
Well, the infrastructure is critical. And I want to point out another incident that happened. In 2017 and 2018, the Iranians did the same thing to Saudi Arabia's largest oil company. They released a virus called Shamoon. The Shamoon virus infiltrated over 30,000 computers. They literally had to trash 30,000 computers at Aramco. However, that virus was not, and they did the same thing, right? They released it with a statement that they were like some cyber hacker collective who was against, Saudi imperialism, but it was the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The difference was that attack was designed to blow up the oil fields. They were giving orders which would release gas. They were giving orders which would release toxic chemicals and would combine and blow up, right? Saudi Arabia had to buy an entire Chinese computer factory to replace all of the systems in there. We need to see this as a clarion call to now go over all infrastructure. Computer networks are infrastructure, right?
Yep.
Secure servers are infrastructure. And this nation needs it from the top and bottom. Another thing that this attack does is it makes the Biden administration look bad.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And now we've already seen it. I was on the Patriot.win, which used to be the Donald.win. And these people are out there saying that gas prices were so much better under Donald Trump. Gas prices have nothing to do with the president of the United States, but they do reflect the impact on the infrastructure of the United States. And here's the kicker. The places that have oil refineries will always have nearby, like New Jersey, New York State, will always have cheaper oil than places where they have to travel by an oil pipeline across 13 states to a place like Houston and Galveston and other places, the Gulf Coast where there are refineries.
Yeah.
It's those places like South Carolina and Alabama and North Carolina who are going to suffer right now. And they're the same people filling up their trunks with 20 gas tanks.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So let's, as a terrorism expert, we talked a little before we got on here about what's happening in Congress. So is Chris Miller already testified? So over the House Oversight, we'll hear from Chris Miller, who was acting defense secretary on January 6th. Back in March, he said, the question is, would anybody have marched on the Capitol, overrun the Capitol without the president's speech? I think it's pretty much definitive that wouldn't have happened. So he's going to, I mean, I don't know. What is your take on where we're at? Because I know it's just justice is not moving fast enough for a lot of us on January 6th. But so I was reading, I guess what he said, my concerns regarding the appropriate and limited use of military and domestic matters was heightened by commentary in the media about the possibility of a military coup or that advisors to the president were advocating the declaration of martial law. I was also cognizant of fears promulgated by many about the prior use of the military in June. The president, and people talking about him invoking the Insurrection Act to politicize the military. Cut through all that for us. What is Chris Miller going to say or is saying? I don't know if he's, there you have it. Go ahead.
That's what you're talking now.
He's on right now.
Yeah.
And he is, as I understand it, he's supposed to drop the dime on Trump today. We'll see how that plays out. This man is in a fight for his legacy. And as I was talking to Chris a little earlier and Travis, I was asking, how did this guy even get the job? Yeah. He was a junior ex-Special Forces colonel. There are Special Forces generals, by the way, 2 and 3 star. In fact, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was in special operations. So explain to me how this junior colonel was more qualified to run the largest defense force in the world with almost $1 trillion budget, right? With only 4 weeks to go before the presidency. What was he chosen for?
Yep.
Was he chosen because he was a rabid Trump sycophant? Or did Trump really believe he would institute martial law? This man is running from it right now. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. But the only way that he's going to be able to get out of this is to say, people in the White House told me not to do it. Because as of right now, it all appears that he decided as a Trump loyalist that he was not going to defend the country. Early on, he was talking about his 30 years of defending the nation. Well, you know what? I got 20 years of defending the nation, and I would have thrown every resource of the United States government at this problem immediately without waiting for orders, because I know what a riot looks like, or I know what people who are, attempting to overthrow the United States government looks like. Not Chris Miller. He stopped everything because, according to him, people were already talking about coups d'etats and overthrowing the government. I didn't want to make it look like we were going to try to help that. Well, how's that working out now?
Yeah. One Trump official tells Daily Beast they're skeptical the dossier will make compelling evidence because it's so shoddy it would be hard to convince a jury anyone actually paid for it. But I mean, it's this is the kind of craziness that they're just a pack of conspiracy theories at this point, right?
Well, I want to point something out to you, and it's terrible. But Russia may have done us a service here in the last month. Just in the last 4 weeks, there was this massive influx of Russian military assets, as much as as much as 50 to 100,000 Russian forces mobilized and moved armored divisions and artillery divisions on the border with Ukraine. And it looked like it was a power move by Putin to intimidate the government of Ukraine because they were going to probably cut off all of their access through the Azov Sea to the Black Sea. I mean, it would have been a really slick move, and it would have been a serious problem for the Biden administration if that had happened. The first thing the Biden administration did was they said, oh, you want those Javelin missiles, the kind of missiles that you just point, fire, and forget, that will completely devastate Russian armed forces? Yeah, we'll sell you those. We'll sell you more of those. And you've got 1,000 already, and you're only supposed to use them in training? No, you can use them any way you want now. So that happening flipped a switch on the Ukraine story. Suddenly, out of nowhere, one of the personal aides to President Zelensky comes on television and starts dropping dimes about every aspect of what Rudy Giuliani wanted from the government of Ukraine. And I mean, Ukraine has figured it out. If Zelensky thought, oh, I got to play left, I got to play right, I got to still curry favor with the Trumpists, that's out the window because Russia tried to, intimidate them a month ago. They are dropping dimes about Rudy Giuliani. Dimes? Did I say dimes? They're dropping entire mobile phone subscriptions on Rudy Giuliani. Everything that was done is now being confirmed by the government of Ukraine, and they are now going to produce people and documents related to it. They are firmly on the side of Joe Biden, and they are definitely going to sell Rudy Giuliani down the river.
Oh, bye-bye, Rudy. Okay, real quick before you go, as a former Republican, I got to get your take on Liz Cheney on what just happened today. So she is out. I got to say, the speech she gave, it is making me root for Cheney is really an existential crisis for me. But, I mean, she's right? And there's part of me hoping that they don't listen to her. But what did you make of all that?
You guys, I always have to remind you, I was a Colin Powell style Republican back when Colin Powell was a Republican. And he is now considered so far left. They won't allow him to come to any Republican events whatsoever. So that gives you an idea of where the Republican Party is going. They are not the Republican Party. They are the QAnon Party. Okay. Liz Cheney is an old school Republican showing her ethics, and that she actually believed in the Constitution of the United States and the oath that she took. And that's a good thing. However, she won't be in the party very much longer. She's going to be out there. I hope she does what she's offered to do, which is to lead a rebellion to split the Republican Party. However, if any of them ever want to stay in power, they're going to have to flip to Trump. That party has been completely taken over by losing the letter Q, but they are the GQP. They believe in all of this QAnon philosophy, that there is going to be a comeback for Trump. Trump is as God, Emperor of the United States. By the way, they don't refer to him as President of the United States. They refer to him as GEOTUS, God, Emperor of the United States. It's bizarre. And they think he's going to come back into power and that he's going to execute the Q storm, which is the mass murder and genocide of all liberals in the United States. And that's not a joke. They still talk about it on Twitter, and on Parler and Gab and the Donald.win. These people are nuts. They really believe in serious violence, and they want to carry it out. And the only way they can do that is if their God Emperor comes back into power and the secret, quote unquote, the military, which they seem to worship like a god, will come over and flip and start executing and arresting liberals left and right. This is dangerous.
Yeah, when that happens, I'm going to want to be with you because you'll protect me, but then I'll be a bigger target because I'll be with you. So it's going to be a dilemma. Okay. Love you, Malcolm. See you next week.
Love you all.
Thanks, Malcolm.
There we go. If you have not heard of the Sexy Liberal Podcasting Network, your podcasting superstation, you suck. I mean,
Yes.
we have the smartest, funniest liberals in the country. Stephanie Miller's Happy Hour. We have John Fugelsang. We have Hal Sparks, Frangela, Final Word, and Idiot of the Week. We have Bob Seska. Oh my God. We have Jody Hamilton from The Bunker. We have Start Me Up with Kimberly Johnson. We have Unprecedented. We have the smartest, funniest podcast, period. Get it now. SexyLiberal.com.